Right, so good to be back. In today's video, we're going to implement the Y movement of our piece. But before we get into that, let's just jump into the recap and see what we did in our previous tutorial. So I'm going to run this. You can see we have our piece. If we press the left arrow key or the right arrow key, our piece is moving. So we want to implement the free fall of this particular piece, but we should have some kind of a smooth free fall of our piece. So what I'm going to do here inside our game loop, down here just below this X movement implementation, I'm going to say Y movement. This will want to implement that. So outside here and outside our game loop, I'm going to create a few variables that are going to keep track of that movement, because we want that movement to be as smooth as possible. I'm going to create 3 variables. The first one is going to be the count, to keep the count of our movement. The next one is going to be speed, which is the speed of our piece. And then the last one is going to be the limit, because we need to set some kind of a limit. And so we can use the same concept that we used here to assign variables, so we can just use just one line. So initially our count is going to be 0. Our speed, I'm going to put it at 50 pixels, and then our limit, I'm going to put it 1500. So these calculations are more into the size of our screen. Let me see, our screen resolution here is about 750, right? Yeah, so I just doubled that, so it has to be double the size of our window. That's how I came up with this limit. The speed is just given the size of our window, 50 is just okay, and obviously the count, we have to start counting from 0. And so with that in mind, down here what we have to do is we have to set the count to be plus equal to the speed. Okay, so we want to keep track of the speed, obviously, but we want to add it to the count. Okay, so it's going to be 50, 100, 150, and so forth and so forth. And after we do that, then if our count becomes greater than the limit, okay, so because we set our limit, we want to take our count back to 0. So our count should be equal to 0. After we check this, we also have to copy this. So I'm going to copy what we did on the x-axis, and so I'm going to Control C here, and then down here in the if statement, this one, at the moment our count is greater than the limit, that's what we want to do. We set this to 0, and after we set that to 0, we're going to select all this, and then I'm going to tab this in. As you guys are familiar with Python, we have to use some kind of indentation, right? So this one should be indented as well, and this one should be indented as well. So we're using indentation over here. Otherwise, our code is not going to work. So first up, we check out the counter here. If the counter is greater than the limit, then we're going to set our count to 0, and then we're going to do this. And what we have to do here now, instead of changing our x-axis, we're going to change our y-axis. The value on the y-axis, we're going to set that to plus equal to 1. We're going to increase it by 1. That's what we want to do. And still we need to check this, and we still also need to do this over here. And so I'm going to save that and see what happens. So if I run this, hopefully so, you can see now our piece is now moving downwards because we are increasing it by 1. Right, so we have that free fall of our piece. Run this again. You can see I can move this piece, I can move that piece to that side, I can move that piece. We also have one more implementation that we need to do here. So let's say we want our piece to move down if we press the down arrow key. So up here, we can then say if event.key is equal to Pygame.Keydown, K underscore down. We want to do what? There are many ways of doing this. We could increase the speed. Okay, so we could say speed set the speed to maybe 500. Let's try and set the speed to 500. So currently our speed is 50. Let's just set it to 500 if we press the down arrow key. So let me save that. Let me run this. Let's see this out. Press that. You can see the speed has increased, and that's, it's falling down. That's one way of doing it. Or we could just reduce our limit to, currently our limit is 1,500, right? So we can reduce that limit to just 100. So let me save that and run this and show you what I'm talking about. Press that, you can see, boom, that's a free flow. So I would prefer, changing the limit to 100. But what we have to do is, after we change that limit to 100, we also need here to set it back to where it was. Okay, so we're going to say our limit here is going to be back to 1,500 where it was. So after we do everything that we have done, you can set that back to 1,500. So if I'm to save this and run and press that, you can see it's falling. Yeah, so we have successfully implemented that. So our piece is moving. If we press the downward arrow key, you can see that smooth free flow is implemented by all this. If you have any questions, leave them in the comment section. Please remember to subscribe to the channel, leave a like, support the content. I hope to see you next time. Bye bye.